right, let's talk about one of the most painful circular arguments in business, marketing attribution. You know the one. If you have ever been in a budget meeting that felt like it was going absolutely nowhere, then this is for you. Let's dive in.
I mean, this scene plays out in boardrooms constantly, right? Leadership asks a simple question. What's driving growth? Marketing fires up the attribution dashboards. And then, like clockwork, finance and sales start poking holes in the methodology. The result? Total gridlock, no decisions get made, and everyone leaves, frustrated just to do it all over again next quarter.
I'm guessing this hits a little too close to home for a lot of you, and you're not alone. It's an absolutely exhausting cycle, and it burns up so much valuable executive time. But what if the problem isn't the data itself, or the dashboard, or even the people in that room? What if the whole way we approach this is broken from the very start?
And that brings us to what we call the attribution trap. See, the real issue isn't that our analysis is bad. It's that the entire structure of attribution as a concept is, well, it's designed to fail in a modern executive conversation. We're trying to solve a really important problem with a completely wrong tool.
Okay, this is the absolute heart of the issue. The fundamental flaw with every attribution model out there, I don't care if it's last touch, multi-touch, U-shaped, whatever, is that it's built to answer a question that the C-suite just isn't asking anymore. And that one little misalignment, that's the source of all the conflict. So at its core, this whole disconnect comes down to two completely different questions being asked by two different parts of the business. You've got marketing playing defense, and you've got finance playing offense, but they're not even in the same sport.
Now this slide really clarifies everything. On one side, attribution asks, which channel gets credit? It's a political question, right? It's all about ownership, forcing teams to defend their turf. But finance and your CEO, they're asking a totally different question. They're asking about causality. What changed because we spent this money? They don't care about credit. They care about outcomes.
And wow, this eBay story is the perfect cautionary tale. Their brand search ads were getting tons of attribution credit. Of course they were. They were often the last thing someone clicked. But when they turned the ads completely off, sales didn't drop. Nothing really changed. So the ads weren't causing the sales. They were just showing up at the finish line for sales that were going to happen anyway. This gap, right here, between getting credit and actually causing an outcome, that's where marketing's credibility goes to die.
And look, on top of this philosophical problem, the actual technical foundation for these old models has completely crumbled. Third-party cookies are gone. iOS 14.5 blew up device-level tracking. The numbers the ad platforms are reporting are getting further and further away from what's actually hitting the bank account. So it's really no surprise that a recent Gartner study found almost 40% of tech marketers say this is their #1 biggest challenge. The system is broken.
So if the old way is busted, what's the fix? Well, it's not about finding some new, even more complicated attribution model. No way. It's about making a fundamental shift from a brittle reporting model to a really robust decision-making framework. It's about changing the entire conversation. So let's talk about the liftover attribution framework. Now, I want you to think of this less like another report and more like an operating system for your revenue team. It's designed to replace all those arguments over credit with a structured way to actually make decisions. And the core idea is so simple but so powerful. The bigger the decision you have to make, the stronger your evidence needs to be. This whole framework is built on what we call the 3 tiers of evidence. It's not a rigid one-size-fits-all thing. Instead, it's a flexible system. It lets you apply the right level of analysis to the right kind of business question, whether that's a tiny tweak to a campaign or a massive multi-million-dollar budget decision. So what are the 3 tiers? Okay, first up you have Tier 1, controlled experiments. This is the gold standard, a real test versus control situation for proving cause and effect. Then you have Tier 2, synthetic control, which you use for those important times when a true experiment just isn't possible. And finally, Tier 3, marketing mix modeling, which helps you see the big picture and optimize your entire portfolio. Let's dig into the question each one really answers. All right, Tier 1 is all about true, controlled experiments. This is what you pull out for your highest risk, highest spend decisions, where the CFO needs undeniable, rock-solid proof. You are directly answering the question, did this thing we did actually cause a different outcome than if we had just done nothing? And just look at this output. It's not a defensive dashboard, is it? It's a confident, proactive, budget-moving recommendation. It's specific. It's causal. And it's tied directly to a financial outcome. I mean, this is the kind of evidence that just ends the debate and gets budgets signed right there in the meeting. Okay, but let's be real, you can't always run a perfect, clean experiment. Sometimes programs are too complex or they've been running forever. And that's exactly where Tier 2 comes in. It uses really smart statistical methods to create a kind of digital twin for your program. This lets you answer that crucial counterfactual question: what would have happened if we hadn't made this investment?
The output you get here is just as powerful. It can prove that a big, complex program didn't just capture existing demand, like in that eBay example, but that it actually created new demand. This is how you justify those long-term strategic investments in a way that attribution just never could. And finally, we zoom all the way out to Tier 3. This is your go-to tool for annual planning and big-picture strategy. It uses marketing mix modeling to understand how all your different channels are working together, and, this is critical, where you're starting to hit the point of diminishing returns. Now here is the real magic. When you feed this high-level model with the real-world lift data from your Tier 1 and Tier 2 experiments, it becomes incredibly predictive. It lets you make these smart, strategic reallocations that can actually increase your revenue without increasing your budget. You become a hero to the CFO. This is all about working smarter, not just spending more.
So, what happens when a team really commits to this way of thinking? Well, the entire nature of the conversation shifts. You get out of that political death spiral, and you move into a productive, collaborative discussion about real business impact. You can just feel the difference here, can't you? The old conversation is all defense, frustration, and finger-pointing. The new conversation is forward-looking, it's collaborative, and it's focused on one thing: making the right decision for the business. It's about what works, not who gets the credit.
And this, right here, is the secret sauce. This is why it works. Your CFO is never going to fully trust an attribution model because deep down, they know it's just based on correlation. But they instinctively understand and trust counterfactuals. It's the language of cause and effect. This framework builds trust because it speaks their language. It separates what you caused from what was just going to happen anyway. And this isn't just a nice theory. The results are absolutely staggering. According to Forrester, organizations that build these data-driven cultures, the kind finance actually believes in, they achieve 58% higher year-over-year revenue growth. Why? It's simple. Because trust leads to faster, smarter, and way bolder investment decisions. Ultimately, this is the transformation we're talking about. Marketing stops being seen as a cost center that has to constantly justify its own existence. Instead, it becomes a trusted, integrated operator of a true revenue system, a system that is transparent, that is accountable, and that's grounded in the hard evidence of causality. So I want you to think about your next big budget meeting. It's probably coming up soon. You can walk in there armed with the same old dashboards and get ready for the same old fight. Or you could start a completely new conversation. The meeting is tomorrow. So, which question are you going to ask?